So we're reviewing cars from this week's weekly update, and we're back with the Karin 190Z, we'll just call it that letter, the Karin 190 and that letter. So this is on offer with this week's weekly update, and it's a seriously cool car. I love this thing. But is it worth buying? Well, normally this thing will cost you about 900,000, which, to be fair, is not a lot for a car in the game these days. So with the offer this week, you'll be getting it for about 600,000, which is pretty much a bargain. And it is an absolutely gorgeous looking thing. It is just super cool and has a fantastic interior. I just love what they've done with this interior. It's so 70s, it's perfect for the time. It's based on the Datsun 240Z, although according to GTA Wiki, there's a bit of the Toyota 2000 GT in there as well. Now, the 2000 GT is a super cool car, and that should definitely be in the game as well, but I'm just not seeing it in this car at all. But anyway, back to this one, and what do we think? Well, I've got to be honest, it's not the quickest, but we'll come back to that in a second. And I don't normally do customizations on cars that I already own, because I generally like what I've done, and I'd gone for a kind of a green for this, something period, but I thought, let's have a retweak, because even though this is a sports classic, doesn't sit in the tuners category, it comes with a huge amount of customization. There's some really cool exhaust options, loads of stuff you can do with it, and I think in this dew yellow it just looks fabulous. It looks so much better. I'm really happy with how that came out. So now that that's customized, we'll do the road review in a second, but first I'm going to take this thing round a track. Now, what track would be suitable for this? Well, this week we've got a brand new one just launched, and it is fabulous. So where are we testing this? Well, it's here. Yep, this is Laguna Seca by QuiteTheRhons. Now, all of these tracks that I've been using, that these guys have been developing, are amazing, but this one is just a step above. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so realistic. And on the track, this thing feels an awful lot better. As we'll find when we get back to the road review, it's a little bit twitchy on the road, but on the smooth track here, around a circuit, it's fabulous. So let's do a full point of view lap in the 190, that letter. So starting with handling is really, really good fun. It's really responsive, it's really chuckable. It doesn't have a huge amount of downforce, but on the track that doesn't really matter. On the road it's a bit of a problem, because on the road it does suffer quite a lot from oversteer, and it's also a bit susceptible to being thrown off course by bumps and that kind of stuff. But on the track it's so smooth, it glides around, it's a lot of fun, and especially round my favourite corner in racing. Here we go, around the corkscrew, and he did such a good job of putting that together. Now, the one area this does fall down is in its top speed, and that shows in the time it managed to do around the track and around the lap. So as we just come around this last corner and finish this lap off, and as ever there's a link to this track in the description if you want to bookmark it and go and race it yourself. And back to the car in the game, as I say, around the streets it is really good fun, but it's not particularly quick. The handling's good through the city, but as soon as you get out onto the freeway, that lack of a top end really, really affects it. So let's have a look at what it manages to do for a top speed. And off we go with a top speed test on a straight mile of road, so I can get this thing right up to its max and keep it there for as long as possible. The ticker in the bottom corner gives me a calculation of how long it's taken me to drive this section of track, and that gives you the average top speed that you can maintain. And as I say, you're really not going to want to get your hopes up for this, because it doesn't have a great top speed. As we come under the finish line here, you can see what it's done. Yeah, that's really not good at all. That is going to affect you in racing. That is going to affect you when you're trying to get away from people on the map. But it's not all bad, because it does have two redeeming features. One being the handling is really good. So let's be honest, not every car in the game can be the fastest car in the game, and this certainly isn't that. But it is really good fun, and for the bargain price you're going to get it for this week, I think it's worth it. So as we come around here, what are my final thoughts? Well, as I've said, top speed is a problem. Well, it's not all about top speed. This car has redeeming features, one being the handling super fun, great fun to drive around, and the other being the looks, because this is one of the cooler cars in the game. It just looks so much like the 240, that letter. And that was a really cool car, and still is a really cool car in its own right. You don't see them very often at all these days, and they were quite a sight back in the day. And the way they put it together in the game, it's really good, it's really accurate. It's a fabulous car to go around in. There's a huge amount of customization, especially for a sports classic, because the sports classic category, a lot of the cars in there don't have a huge amount of customization. This really is the exception there, because you really can go down whatever route you want to do with this, whether you want to do like a resto mod, whether you want to do something track focused or just something more classic. You can do whatever you want with this. There's enough customization for everything, and whatever you do, unless you put white walls on, it's gonna look incredible. So as we come around here on one of the cleanest laps I think I've ever done, yeah, not a brilliant time, 9:47. That really is quite a slow car. The only cars that tend to be in the high 9s and towards the 10s really are the slow ones and the sedans, so it's not a quick car, but I don't think that lessens the appeal. I think it's so cool, it's worth a punt. So for my money, I would go for it. But remember, there's another mini DLC launching today. In fact, it will probably have launched by the time this video gets out there. So if you've got the money for both, go for it. And that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one.